Okay, everybody, welcome to our March Blackstone Franklin Square Neighborhood Association meeting. To get started, we just have a few announcements. I'm going to start with a couple of things that Kim Cuccioli, our Office of Neighborhood Services liaison, passed along. She can't be here tonight, but she wanted me to let you know about two things. One, the Love Your Block event, the cleanup event, will be held this Saturday, April 29th, and she'll be sending out the usual sign up by email by the end of this week, she says. And two, she's not doing her regular coffee hour at Flower Bakery this Friday because ONS has a training, but she and it will be back on next week. Matt, did you want to announce a few things?
Just some of the date stuff. Can we just talk through April? April cleanups will probably come back at some point when Blackstone stops being a pond. The May meeting is our last one before the summer, May 16th. And we're working on a social. We haven't had a joint social in a while for reasons everyone knows. We thought about April 12th. It's a Wednesday, but kind of makes sense when we already have tidy up Tuesdays that exist, but we're working on those anyway. So some dates to come out. We post on Facebook and Instagram quite a bit. So
right. Okay. And so you're right. And so we'll let people know when we have a definite date in place for that, for the social. And speaking of elections, one thing that we do every year here is that we elect our board at the May meeting. And we notice that here at the March meeting. So if anybody, the 5 or 6 members who are currently on our board are all expected to run again, but if anybody else would like to join or is maybe potentially interested in joining or talking about it, just reach out to us by email and let us know, and we'll connect with you. So with that, let me turn it over to Christian from Project Place to tell us just a little bit about his organization and a fundraiser they're having next month, and then we'll get to the main item on our agenda. So Christian, go ahead.
Hey, everyone. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your agenda to hear a little bit about Project Place and the event that we have coming up next month. My name is Christian Miron. I am the Director of Philanthropy at Project Place. It's great to be with you all tonight. So let me, you'll have to excuse me. I am in my wife's office, so I'm acclimating myself to a different infrastructure here. So let me share my screen here. So we have been located in the South End since 1967. We are going on 56 years now, serving the greater Boston community. Our mission is to promote a community of hope and opportunity for individuals who are unhoused and experiencing poverty by providing the skills, the education, the resources that they need to obtain and sustain employment and housing. In Boston, we're really fortunate to be part of a community of really wonderful providers who are connecting people experiencing homelessness and poverty with a variety of resources and housing. Our belief is that ending homelessness is possible, and we take an employment first approach. We think that by providing folks with the opportunity to attain stable, well-paying jobs, it helps put folks on a path to long-term financial independence, puts them in a position to secure stable, safe housing, and to feel hopeful about their own futures. So what we do, we provide classroom learning, on-the-job training, individualized support. We also provide housing directly at our location at 1145 Washington Street, where we have 14 permanent supportive housing units. We also up at 40 Berkeley, which is the former Y, the current Revolution Hotel. We have 10 units of temporary housing for women specifically. Those folks, that is transitional housing. Those folks typically stay at Betty's Place for about 10 to 18 months before they're able to secure their own permanent long-term housing. The folks that connect with us, we're really fortunate to work with people who are motivated. They come to us with really challenging personal circumstances, but nevertheless, they have this resilient spirit and they're motivated to make really transformational change in their own lives. And so what we do is make sure that we're giving them the support and the resources and training to really take advantage of that can-do spirit. So we provide some basic education all around personal life skills, eventually transitioning into workplace education, applying for jobs. We provide resume and cover letter writing assistance, guided job services, guided job searches. But one of the things that we really love about our programming is that we make, we don't just provide educational opportunities and build folks' knowledge base up. We also operate 3 social enterprises at Project Place. They're small businesses. They're not designed to turn a profit. They're designed to produce a social impact. And so through those transitional employment businesses that we offer, we're able to provide on-the-job training for a period of up to 6 months for individuals that we work with. We have a program called LEAP, which is one of our largest growing programs. It's providing logistics, training, warehousing for what is really a growth industry here in the Boston area. We are really proud to say that we have just begun a partnership in the fall with Roxbury Community College for our Working Opportunities for Women program. We have partnered with RCC. We operate their cafe on campus, and we also operate the food services for the Reggie Lewis Track and Field Center. It's really great opportunity for the women who participate in that program to learn food service skills, to learn leadership abilities, being shift managers, developing those customer service, those interpersonal skills that will translate really well, regardless of what industry, what type of job that they move into next. And we also operate a beautification business, Clean Corners, Bright Hopes. You may have seen our teams around in Fenway at the Holocaust Memorial. They help make sure that our city is presenting itself in the best light possible, and they take a lot of pride. They take a lot of pride in doing that. One of the things that sets Project Place aside, apart from a lot of other providers in the community, is we make a long-term commitment to every client who engages in our programming. So at the end of programming, we make a minimum of a 2-year commitment to work with those individuals on a one-to-one individualized basis, because we know that the path to making transformative change, to improving your life, that change isn't a linear progression. People backslide, they have bumps in the road. They have trouble at work, they lose a job, their housing becomes jeopardized. So a lot of the folks that we work with, they just don't have the social, professional, personal support networks that a lot of us are fortunate enough to have. So we try to fill that, we try to fill that void for them. So folks that enter our programming, that finish, they know that they can always come back to Project Place for whatever they need, even if it's to come visit our computer lab, brush up on their Zoom skills, brush up on their Microsoft Office, whatever they need. Our case managers are happy to work with folks for as long as people feel like there's a need to have Project Place in their life. I mentioned previously, we do provide some housing services through Benny's Place and Gatehouse. The clients we serve are all experiencing homelessness. They're all experiencing poverty. The majority of our clients are men from the community. A lot of them identify as having a disability. The majority of our clients identify as BIPOC, and they come from the greater Boston area. We've got the majority of our folks coming in from JP, Mattapan, Dorchester, Roxbury, and of course, the South End. We work with folks who are, a lot of our clients are in recovery. They're recovering from substance use disorder. They may be court involved, either releasing directly into Project Place programming from serving a period of incarceration in the Suffolk House of Corrections. And a lot of folks we work with served in the U.S. military, and so we have specific case managers that work with each of those populations because they have a background or lived experience and really know how to connect with folks and understand how to be responsive to the needs that to their needs. one of the things, we talk a lot about our programming. We talk about numbers and metrics. The great thing about working at Project Place is really the people that we serve. We recently worked with this gentleman, Bruce, who was accepted, who was hired by Gillette down the street from us. These types of quotes, they make everything that our team does feel worthwhile. And it's the best validation for our work and our commitment to see, to have folks that we work with regard Project Place with with this type of sentiment. Like I said, we've been around for 56 years. In just the past 5 years, we've served 1,800 clients, 545 of whom have obtained employment. 476 have secured stable, safe housing. And of those 1,800, 415 have been employed in one of our social enterprise businesses. And as we continue our work, we hope to expand those numbers year after year after year. And so, part of the reason I'm here tonight is to introduce myself to you all, to introduce the Project Place community to your community, to build a relationship. But fortunately, we have a really great event coming up next month. It's unique to Project Place. We think it's unique to Boston. So we partnered with Fenway Park, and on April 22nd, we are having our inaugural Climb for a Cause. So what we're hoping to do is to raise awareness for our mission to end homelessness in Boston. Every year, the city of Boston conducts an annual point in time survey. Typically, it's always in the winter. I believe it was the end of January, beginning of February this year. We had a team from Project Place go out in the middle of the night, midnight, talk to folks in the community and assess how many unhoused individuals there are in Boston. Last year, there were 1,545 adults unhoused on Boston streets. And so what we want to do to help raise awareness for the unhoused population of Boston, for the folks experiencing poverty, is to take 1,545 steps, one for each of those individuals experiencing homelessness in Boston at Fenway Park. To us, when we were thinking about an event that could be a really great launching pad for building relationships in the community, we thought about what the qualities of our clients really are. And it's really that resilient spirit. And, in our estimation, there's no symbol in Boston that better epitomizes that symbol of resiliency and stick-to-itiveness than the Boston Red Sox. So we felt going to Fenway, having a community awareness event there was just the best way to celebrate our clients, to celebrate our movement, and to introduce as many people as we can to our mission and to our organization. So we hope this event is something that is appealing to your members, to your community. This is April 22nd. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Everyone that comes to the event is going to have an event T-shirt. We'll get Fenway Franks, ballpark food. It's a family-friendly event. So we're going to have some of the activations that are available at the kids concourse there at Fenway, virtual home run derby, some of the games that they have there. And we're hoping to have some special guests or two going along with that family-friendly motif. We're going to have Wally there. Kids love Wally. So it's the end of school vacation week. It's a great thing to pop into on a Saturday morning and bring the whole family. This is, in addition to being an event that we're hoping will raise awareness for the mission to end homelessness in Boston, we're also hoping that folks will support the event in one way or another, but that's not necessary. It is a cost-free event. Folks can register at climbfenway.org. You can use the promo code community. Register with no upfront cost. If you'd like to make a donation, if you'd like to make a gift to support our mission, that's absolutely welcome. 100% of the proceeds that we raise through Climb for a Cause goes right back into supporting our mission to provide opportunities for individuals who are experiencing homelessness and poverty in Boston. But more so than anything, it's a really great way to make an impact in our community. You know, ending homelessness in Boston is possible. It just takes the collective will of our neighbors, of our community, to band together, call attention to the work that Project Place is doing, other homeless service providers are doing, and would love to welcome your community into ours. So appreciate the time. I'm happy to answer any questions folks have about Project Place or about Climb for a Cause.
Thank you, Christian. Does anyone have any questions for Christian? I had one question, but I think you answered it. So it's an event where there's no cost to enter, and it's contribute as you will. Is that the?
Yeah.
Jewish?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, feel free to register. Use that promo code community, and come see what the Project Place community, see what our work is about, and you know, we'd love to welcome you all.
Great, and thank you. And it's good to hear about Project Place too, because I feel like that's a name and a group that we probably are all at least a little familiar with, but we've learned a lot more. So thank you for that.
No, I appreciate it. We unfortunately we hear that we're one of the best kept secrets in Boston, and
right.
It's one of the last things you know, nonprofit doing our work wants to. We don't want to be a secret. So appreciate the opportunity to have the conversation. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, next, and our main item for tonight is a discussion about a proposed recreational marijuana dispensary that would be located at 1679 Washington Street, which is the corner of Worcester Street, in the space that formerly was occupied by Andy's Dry Cleaner. And so the proposal is being made by a group called Frozen 4 that currently has a dispensary down in Marshfield, and Ben from Frozen 4 and his team are here to tell us about what they're proposing and then take questions and comments. So go ahead, Ben.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys inviting me tonight to the meeting. I apologize if I'm blinding anyone. Had a little too much time in the sun today, so the giant forehead might be radiating like a neon light, and I apologize. Don't dim your your screen. That's just actually my head. I thought I would just take a few minutes tonight to talk about what we do at Frozen 4 in the cannabis space already, and why we were kind of drawn to the 1679 space. And won't bore you by talking for too long, and then you know, leave plenty of time for everyone to ask questions who might have them. So my name is Ben Virga. I'm one of the founders of Frozen 4 Corporation. We started our business back in 2018, you know, pursuing licenses in adult use recreational cannabis. We have a dispensary and a delivery operation that are both active and operational in the state. In Marshfield, our dispensary is located at 985 Plain Street, which is Route 139. And our delivery operation actually operates out of Marshfield at the moment. One of the reasons tonight that I'm not going to have a very fancy slideshow for you with a lot of great images and things like that is that when we started this process, one of the things we heard from people we know in the South End more than anything that mattered was listening to the neighborhood and hearing from the neighborhood about what matters to them, from the outside of the building to the inside of the building, and everything in between. So we really wanted to respect that process. And you know, really kind of come to these meetings with our ears wide open and hear what matters and what's important to the neighborhood, so that we can be a great you know, commercial partner within it. And that's what we're trying to do. So obviously we will share anything that we do design once we've designed it, but for now we're kind of in listening mode, and we've already gotten some great feedback from a bunch of folks, and we've already incorporated that into our plan. So we're excited about that. As I mentioned, we operate a dispensary in Marshfield. We actually are going to do an open house on Friday for South End residents who are interested in seeing that what I talk about tonight is an actual reality. That will be at 1 o'clock on Friday, and David has the information sheet. So if anyone doesn't have it, I'm sure he can share it after the meeting. It has all the logistical information on it. You do not need to shop. Always welcome to shop, but you do not need to shop to come to the event, and you'll get a behind the scenes look at everything. We will sign everyone in as a guest. We will show you the front of the house and the back of the house. You'll get a chance to meet our team, you know, who run the retail store and retail operation for us, and ask them questions and really see how you know, how the sausage gets made. So anyone who's interested, Friday at 1 o'clock down in Marshfield. The next thing I wanted to talk about was why we were pursuing 1679 Washington. We got Marshfield host community agreement signed in 2019. We were licensed and started construction and finished up so that we opened in December of 21. The Marshfield location is a very high traffic area. We got 48,000 cars a day driving by, 145,000 cars a day drive by on the 4th of July weekend. And I know all this annoying data because we actually are installing a stoplight on 139. So we had quite a massive traffic study done to get that to get that approved. So I know all those stupid numbers, but it's very high profile. It's the only dispensary in Marshfield. Every town around Marshfield has banned it. So we get a fair amount of traffic every day. We average around a little over 500 customers a day, transactions a day, I should say. So we kind of set ourselves up in a tough spot for looking for dispensary number 2, in that we wanted to make sure that we got a location that was, on par with Marshfield as far as a good location. I mean, there's a lot of dispensaries in the state. I think a lot of dispensaries opened in the past few years thinking if they open their doors, people will come. And, as they're more and more have opened, that's not the case. So we've been very selective. We actually, ironically enough, turned down the opportunity to pursue another location in the South End 2 months before this came up, just because we didn't think it was the right fit for us. But when Jay bought the building, he had been, kind of thinking about whether or not he was going to have a cannabis tenant. He reached out to a business partner of his to ask him about it, Jim Robertson. And, Jim said that he knew me and knew that I had an operational store. So Jay and Jim called me and asked me to come look at 1679 Washington to see if we'd be interested. I did that, and we were very interested. We think it's a spectacular location and a spectacular neighborhood. One of the things that Jay really wanted to do was see Marshfield before he'd agreed to anything with us, because he wanted to make sure that we could run our business in the right way, especially with his businesses operating across the street. And so Jay and Jim came down, and we gave them the same tour that we're offering to everyone else on Friday. And after Jay saw everything that we were doing behind the scenes, he said he was interested in potentially working with us as a tenant. So we reached out to David and to Desmond. David came over a couple weeks ago to the space, and we answered a bunch of questions that he had, talked through some stuff with him, and started the neighborhood process. So where we are right now in the process is we're waiting for our denial letter from Inspectional Services, and once we have that, we've already spoken with the Office of Neighborhood Services, and once we have the denial letter, then they will send out the notice for the formal abutters meeting. But David strongly encouraged us to come talk to you guys now to answer questions and get, just get a chance for everyone to meet us and ask whatever questions they might have. So we were happy to do it. And, we're very excited. We think it's a spectacular location in a great neighborhood and in a great building. And we think we can do a very good job of fitting in with the vibe and the aesthetic of the neighborhood. So that's my spiel for tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Questions? Paul.
I have a question here.
Sarah.
Hi, this is Sarah. I live on Shawmut Ave. And you mentioned that you had 48,000 cars, I believe, in Marshfield. How will you accommodate the influx of parking and traffic on Washington Street?
Oh, Sarah, that's for Marshfield. I'm a South Shore guy, so unlike people that live in the city, we don't go anywhere with our feet. We take the car pretty much everywhere. If people have to drive to this dispensary for customers, then we wouldn't open it. One of the things that I did when Jay and Jim approached me, it was the Friday a few weeks back where it was like 19 degrees out with like a -30 wind chill. And so I got there 2 hours before our meeting. It was a Friday morning, and I parked my car and I sat in it and I counted every person that walked by the front of the store. And in that 2-hour window is 112 people. And so our business is based in that neighborhood on people coming by on foot. There's enough dispensaries in Boston that nobody's going to drive to our dispensary instead of going to the one that's closer to them. And on top of that, we're the only dispensary in the city that will have its own delivery company. We expect about 25 to 30% at minimum of our orders to be done via home delivery. And we will actually be able to offer 1-hour home delivery service for people who order through the South End location. So we expect to do, at least 1 out of every 3 transactions will not occur within the store. I mean, obviously we can't stop people from coming via car if they're going to a show, if they're going to dinner. they're coming home from work, whatever, but we will have staff out front every moment that we're operational to make sure that nobody double parks, to make sure no one parks in the bus lane, to make sure that the Worcester Street doesn't get double parked and blocked off, et cetera. So, you know, we've already had operational meetings about that in regards to staffing, and that won't be an issue. But, you know, to answer your question, if we need people to drive to this dispensary for us to have the customer base that we need, then we shouldn't open it. It's just, it would be a bad business move. So we expect majority of our customers to come in on their feet, leave on their feet without getting into a car, or to get home delivery.
I think Paul Newman had a question, David.
Yeah, hi, thanks. Yeah, I had a similar question about driving. I'm a few doors down on Worcester Street, so I knew another tenant in our building heard about this. They were pretty upset, but I invite them to come and post their own comments here if that's the case. What hours are you planning on having, or?
I mean, I can't tell you that for certain because we haven't met with the Boston Cannabis Board yet. The Boston Cannabis Board will make that determination. I can tell you that our store hours in Marshfield are 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. And you know, we will probably be asking the Boston Cannabis Board for similar hours. But again, I do not know how that will play out once we meet with the board.
I think
But
Lucas.
it will not be any later than 9 o'clock.
Ben, do you mind elaborating on your delivery model? You said a third of your sales is going to be delivery. How do you plan to do that in a downtown setting? Even Marshfield is.
We already make between 50 and 60 deliveries a day in Boston from Marshfield. So obviously it'll be a lot easier traffic wise to do it out of the South End. But basically what happens is the way delivery works in Massachusetts is that you're required to be home to take delivery. It has to be the person who made the order and who uploaded their license. So if we show up and your spouse is there, it doesn't matter if your 50-year-old spouse is at home, we can't deliver to your spouse. It has to be the person whose ID was uploaded on the website. So what happens is people sign up, and it's usually a 2-hour window for delivery, but because of the fact that, you know, it's just easier to get from point A to point B distance wise, we'll be able to offer even a tighter window than that. So people make their order up till 2 days in advance, scheduled in that time. And we text them as we're driving up, and we meet them on their front steps, and we make a delivery. There's one person in the car and there's one person who makes the delivery. They're both wearing body cameras. The car has 6 cameras, and it's pretty much the most secure thing that happens in the United States of America.
I'm more specific to operational. You're going to be doing it from a car. You're going to be doing it from.
Yes,
you're going to have third-party employees
yeah.
doing it. You're going to have employees that you employ doing it.
We have Kia Souls. The little white. We have little white Kia Souls. We take the back seats out and turn the back of them into a secured locking vault. And so basically, what happens is they pull up to the store. They get all the orders put in the back. I mean, when you say orders, people often think of like people carrying big boxes. I mean, every order is the size of probably the bag you get at Dunkin' Donuts with your bagel in it. And so they put those in the back of the car and they're off to the races. So there won't be anyone live parking at the building. There is an alley behind there. So we'll be able to do things operationally, and we'll also be able to make deliveries. If we have people who make request deliveries, because we do have 2 stores, there will be cars coming up from Marshfield. So some of the time people who order from the South End will actually be getting a car that was fulfilled in Marshfield for their delivery. So it gives us a lot of options. And we have a delivery warehouse in Quincy as well. So just because you order from us in the South End doesn't mean that your product will come out of the South End vault. It will come out of one of our vaults, and it'll be delivered by one of our employees. We cannot, we can't outsource it. Everyone has to work for us to be a full employee. We can't use like the Uber Eats or the DoorDash model or anything like that. Everyone who works for us is a badged agent of the state and is an employee of our company.
Thank you.
No problem.
Rob is next.
Hi, thanks for giving me the chance to talk. I live right around the corner. Andy's Cleaners used to be my cleaners. I'm also a recreational marijuana user. I'm not a believer, given the sort of expense and experience in those things, that these establishments, sort of promote any other sort of malice in the neighborhood in any way. I think my question is, this end of Washington has really seen a huge sort of dearth of sort of open establishments. So there's a ton of shuttered storefronts down here. And, you know, I know there are state requirements for some sort of masking around cannabis dispensaries. So one of my more sort of like, it's not at all about, you know, sort of like, you know, bad sort of actions happening here. It's more just about activating the street life and not having something that feels sort of totally shut off. So I'd love to hear about your plans for that, as well as some plans for, like, you know, restaurant. I'm just curious, would you keep the Andy signage above hand, or, you know, or just remove that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Andy signs are staying put. We'll obviously cover them up with our own imagery, but I love those signs. I think they're great. I think they fit the building wonderfully. I think they are I think they fit the neighborhood great, and you know, and they're obviously they're just cool. So we definitely plan to do this. The first thing I told Jay when we looked at the space was, do not touch the signs. We'll cover those up with our stuff. You know, and we've heard that from a lot of people. They're concerned about the frosting of the windows. They're concerned about the deadening of the street. And you know, I brought that back to my team. So I'm the first to admit, you know, I'm one of the founders. I'm the business development guy. You know, the running joke in our company is that I'm the guy that helps get the sausage factory opened, but I don't actually ever step foot in the factory once it's open. We have a lot of really smart, talented, passionate people that work for us. They're annoyingly young, some of them, but they're really, really good. And so I brought that idea back to them and said to them that was a major concern. We'd heard from more than just a few people. And one of the things that they came up with right off the jump is, we don't need to frost the windows, because we're going to have a secure entryway and a secure exit. We're going to have to frost the windows within the entryway and the exit atriums that people will walk into and go out of. But the actual glass on Washington Street, per regulations, won't need to be frosted, because when you look through the glass, you'll just see into the entryways. You won't see the store itself. So I know that was a big concern for people, and you know, that's the kind of talent we have working for us. And again, that's why we're not putting a big fancy proposal in front of you tonight, because you know, some really smart people who I've known for a really long time, who have a vested interest in the South End, said to me that the biggest mistake groups make when they come to us is they don't want to listen to us. You know, we just want to tell them how much we love our neighborhood, and that what we care about within our neighborhood. So we've really, you know, I'm a kind of I go 150 miles an hour 24/7. So for me, it's putting the brakes on and stopping and saying, okay, let's listen. And I think we've already gotten some really spectacular feedback. And, you know, I think that I know that one of the first things David asked us about when he showed up is about the windows. And, you know, I think we've already found a solution to that. And we look forward to being able to do that for anything else that comes up. But I think we you know, in Marshfield, it's a typical kind of setting where, you know, it's in the, you know, standalone building, but we've still brought some life to the community. We do a bunch of events. No one can consume outside. Doesn't matter where we are. There's very strict rules about that, but we do a bunch of events in Marshfield because we have a patio area to do it. And, you know, we'll find a way to do stuff that is really within the neighborhood from the store in a compliant fashion. We will not allow any consumption outside of the store. We're not going to do any of that nonsense, but we will find a way to be a vibrant community asset within this neighborhood. I have no doubt our team will come up with a million different ways. And our team will want to be working with you guys, you know, on a regular basis to figure out what we can do to support the neighborhood association. So, you know, they're not only annoyingly young, but they are actually sincerely passionate about their belief that cannabis is incredibly helpful to people's mental and physical well-being, and they're going to engage within the neighborhood. And I think it's going to be a great thing to see for sure.
Thank you. I think Deborah Benson is next.
Hi. I just wanted to mention something. I live on West Concord Street, right across from Deacon Street. What you referred to as an alley is not an alley behind the building. It's actually a street, notwithstanding its bad condition and the potholes. It is actually a functioning street. People park and enter into garages from there. Mm-hmm. People park behind their buildings and use that as their access point. So I wanted to raise that in case you're not familiar with that. Is in fact.
I apologize for misspeaking. I just meant that we're able to, we have a little aspect of our building that's kind of a cutout that we can pull into and access to get trash out of there. We have unbelievably strict rules about our trash. You would not believe it, in regards to how it's disposed of and how we obviously take deliveries and receive deliveries, et cetera. So that street, not alley, I apologize, will provide us the access to do it without us without us blocking it anyway. It just gives us a little more of a private way to do certain things that won't, because at Worcester Street, as you know, obviously much better than I do, there is no option to do anything on Worcester Street but drive down it with cars on both sides. So this will allow us to be able to not impact traffic in any way, but do what we need to do, both with regards to trash and deliveries.
Actually, there is traffic on that street and there is no space for parking. I mean, if a car is coming in one direction and a car is coming in the other, one car has to back up.
I understand that. I'm saying that there's when we went through the tour with Jay, we'll have the ability to be able to get our trash out of there without it blocking the street. So we'll be able to, we'll use that same method, because that was a big factor for us, because regulatorily, we cannot put our trash in the trash. It has to be secured and locked at all times. And so that was a big point, but we'll be able to use for both trash and deliveries the same. So we will not block that street. Make that clear. We're very aware of it. We will not in any way, our goal is to never, ever block the street in any way, shape or form, or for any of our customers too.
Great.
Thank you, Deborah. We have a question in chat from Dennis Hong. What kind of lease term are you seeking? How many years?
I think that, and with all due respect, I think that that's something that's probably not, specifics I'm going to get into, only because it's a legally binding contract between two parties, but I think it's going to be an initial term of a few years with a couple of options, because obviously Jay's going to want to make sure that everything's going well, and we're going to want to make sure everything's going well. So I would think we'll have it will be a few years to start with some mutual options built in, but I don't want to get into too many specifics on a private contract between two parties. But it's not going to be a 30-year lease, no matter how many times Jay asks.
Thank you. We have another question from Lucas. Go ahead.
Ben, in regards to the Andy sign you made reference to, as it sits now, it's probably historic in the building, so you're grandfathered into doing whatever you want there. You imply that you were going to retrofit it for your own sign. Any concept for what you're going to be doing on that massive sign on the side of this building? It's pretty large, given the area.
I think that's something that we're working on, and I think we just, as far as the sign itself, the actual hardware, we want to keep that exactly as it is. But I think whatever we do, we're going to make sure that we fit within the neighborhood. I think if anyone does take the opportunity to come down on Friday to Marshfield, they'll see that in Marshfield, what we did was we created a store, and we hired an architect that lived on the South Shore. And what I told her was, I want people to walk into the dispensary and think they're at the Derby Street shops and they just walked into Lululemon, because that's what the South Shore is. That's obviously not what the South End is. So we'll be doing the exact same strategy, but focused on the South End in all of our design and all of our aesthetics.
And you'll present a sign prior to putting it up? Just for
Oh yes, of course. Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
We plan on presenting everything we're planning on doing to all the neighborhood groups before we do it, because no one knows the neighborhood and what's going to drive business more than you guys do. And so, you folks will be our best focus group possible. So we're going to take as much advantage of that as we possibly can. Any
cultivation on site?
No. Sorry, I don't like, we've had cultivation's been it has not been a fun process to go through as part of the cannabis industry. So I didn't mean to react that strongly, but I hear cultivation. It's like, I'm a Bruins fan. It's like you said, the Canadians. So I reacted viscerally and I apologize, but no, there will be no cultivation, no manufacturing on site. It will strictly be retail.
Thank you.
Ben, are you able to share any details around the application status? Is this an equity application? What type of application it is?
No, so we are not. Well, see, there's two different. We have a partner, so we are deemed as an economic empowerment applicant, which is different than a social equity applicant. Economic empowerment applicants were approved in April of 2018 in a 3-week window, and it was based on previous work experience, not anything other than that. We are partnered with a woman named Candace Qatar, and Candace was approved as an economic empowerment applicant, not social equity. Boston has its own social equity program on top of the states. We are not applying for that, nor are we a social equity applicant within the Cannabis Control Commission. We are economic empowerment, but not social equity. They are very different.
Thank you for clarifying that. Another question in the chat. This is related to the tour on Friday. Is this at the new location, or is this in Marshfield?
This is in Marshfield. But we're also happy to, if Jay and Jim are willing down the road, I think we can also do something in April, probably at the new location. Jay's in the process of doing some cleanup there, so I think it'd be good to wait a couple weeks till it's a little more cleaned out. But if we're at the point in April where people would like to do that, we're happy to do it. When the weather's a little nicer, we can we keep the doors open for an hour or so people can swing by. At that point, we should have our first round of floor plans, so it might, we'll be able to kind of walk people through that as well.
Okay, great. And did you, I think Rob might have asked earlier, but did you cover the planned hours of operation?
So I mean, we plan on asking for the same hours we have at Marshfield, which is 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. But that decision will be made by the Boston Cannabis Board in regards to our special permit.
Gotcha. Okay. One more question from the chat. Does your team have any concerns with any consumables being handled or sold at a former dry cleaner location?
No.
I don't know if that's.
No, it's probably regarding 21E environmental. Everything that we sell is completely sealed and childproof packaged before it comes in. Nothing is loose in any way, shape, or form. Anyone who comes down on Friday will see firsthand, but the regulatory environment is truly spectacular in regards to what's required of us. And so nothing that will be consumed by the public will be exposed to anything other than the plastic or glass that it's sealed within before it's sold.
Thank you.
Ben, let me jump in on that. I'll take that a little step further. Jim Robertson speaking. There was some cleanup after Andy's left, and the space has gone through air testing quarterly and passed with flying colors. We expect that the state is going to, accept the building with a clean bill of health in April. So we feel good about the space environmentally.
Thank you, Jim. We have a question from Heather Govern. Go ahead, Heather.
Sorry, I'm all set. I think it was already answered. Thanks. Sorry.
We have a couple more in the chat.
From Alexander Potter.
I'll go ahead and read the question in the chat, Ben. So,
Sure.
Porter, it is my understanding that proximity to a public elementary school is a concern for cannabis permits. Is the nearby Hurley School something you have addressed in your application? And if so, how?
Yes, we met with the Office of Neighborhood Services a couple weeks back and confirmed what we suspected based on Boston measures the 500 feet buffer by the main entrance of the school to the main entrance of the store. And we exceed the 500-foot mark. So the Office of Neighborhood Services confirmed with us that 500-foot buffer is not an issue with our application.
Thank you. Let's just give a minute here. Any other questions in the chat or from anybody?
Dennis has a question in the chat, which is what is going to be the first, what's going to be the first day of the business opening, which I think is another question I had, which is kind of what's the timeline you're envisioning here for going through the approval process and assuming you're successful there, getting through the state CCC, and then, as Dennis has asked, actually opening your doors. What's the...
So it's impossible for me to answer, and I'm not trying to be vague, only because I do not know at which point that we'll meet with the Boston Cannabis Board and find out about a host community agreement. So basically, the easiest way for me to answer it is from the moment that from the moment we go before the ZBA, we are probably looking at 5 to 6 months. So, and we can't go before the ZBA till after we meet with and get approved by the Boston Cannabis Board. So once we get approved by the Boston Cannabis Board, we will then go before the ZBA for the variance. When the variance is issued, because obviously we can't pull a building permit without with an open variance question. So we're looking at about 5 to 6 months from ZBA to opening our doors. So our goal, our hope, our desire is to be open at the end of 2023. But cannabis is one of the funkier things in the world, where everything takes 15 times longer than normal and costs 150 times more than normal. So, but we feel we feel very good about where we are. I just don't know the answer, and I do not get to decide the Boston Cannabis Board's schedule. As much as I would like to, they do not let me make those decisions. So our goal is to be open sometime between around Thanksgiving, Christmas of this year, but we will have a much better sense of that as things progress, and we get a sense of timing from them, because we cannot really do anything until we've gotten the sign off from the Boston Cannabis Board.
Okay.
Ben, as a follow-up, does it take the sign off from the Cannabis Board to begin any construction? So when you say by the end of the year, does that mean construction has been done or any retrofitting has been done? Or does that mean by the end of the year is when you'll start?
No. It means that's when we open our doors. So as soon as we get a variance from the city of Boston, we can get our building permits. Okay. We can't get a building permits until we have a variance, because they won't give you a building permit to build something they haven't told you can build yet. So we're working closely with Jay and Jim and our team to make sure we're on top of everything. So I mean, I think we'll have a much better line of sight into our timeline over the next 3 to 4 weeks. And, obviously we'll keep you guys updated as things develop. But I think, the easiest answer is when you find out we're going to the ZBA, we'll be open within 5 to 6 months of that date.
Okay.
Thank you. Another question in the chat, but it's also a question that I had as well. So regarding the proximity and location of the establishment, it's no surprise to most folks that live in the neighborhood that we've been impacted directly or indirectly by the ongoing public health and drug crisis that's occurring at Mass and Cass. Has that come into your consideration at all for this location in terms of security that you might need that may not be addressed in Marshfield, or just in terms of your general thoughts and consideration and some of the issues that are happening around the corner related to that crisis for your planning for this establishment?
So, I mean, obviously, it's on everyone's mind. It's in the news constantly, and it's heartbreaking in so many different ways and for so many different reasons when people are struggling like that. I think, the regulatory process provides us a level of comfort that in order for somebody to be able to make a purchase in our store, they've got to come into a secure entryway. They've got to show a valid license. They've got to, they're getting screened at that point. They've got to come in, they've got to speak with our staff. They've got to show their ID again, and they've got to make a purchase. And we have complete regulatory ability to deny anybody that we don't deem to be fit for purchase at any time. It's just one of the things the state really allows dispensaries, to do so that they don't get in a situation where it's, they're forced to serve somebody that might not be in a position to be served, so to speak. And so our team is very well trained, has a ton of experience. While I joked that they were annoyingly young, they are. They're young, but they've all got many, many years of experience in cannabis, because that just, unfortunately, fortunately for them, it became legal, and as they were entering the professional world, and this is what their career has been based on. So, our staff is prepared to handle a bevy of situations. I'd be happy to have the Marshfield police chief appear on a Zoom anytime with anyone here, and he would tell you that we've been open for 15 months, and sporadically he'll have to call me because he thought that I was going to be a part of his life when we opened, because people assume with the dispensary there'll be some issues, and we've had none. Our security is every inch of the store and the exterior and the interior is covered by a camera. The Cannabis Control Commission will do no-knock inspections. If they find 1 inch of the store, exterior or interior, not covered, they make you shut down and redo your camera positions. Lots of fun. And in Marshfield, I think we have 17 panic buttons tied directly to our security output of the Boston Police. So, anybody who is trying to kind of penetrate, so to speak, the inner sanctum to make a purchase who's not in a place where they should be doing so, they will get nowhere near the point of sale area before we're able to address it.
Thank you. And maybe as a follow-up on that, have you had conversations yet with District 4 and any of the community officers there? You mentioned you had a relationship with Marshfield Police.
Not as of yet. That will be that's kind of the next step after we do the neighborhood groups while we're waiting for the official butters meeting, is that we'll start working with, we've already started working with a lot of the local city officials, elected officials, and staffers and whatnot at City Hall. And so we'll be focusing on the police as the next phase after the neighborhoods.
Gotcha. Thank you. We definitely encourage that.
Absolutely.
I think we had another question from Lucas, I thought I saw.
Yes, thanks. So Ben, I guess the concern isn't so much with the purchasing of the marijuana by the people that may come down from Method of Mile, but it's generally attracting them. So given I understand they won't be able to make a purchase, nothing stopping them from your proposed establishment or drawing them to the south end more so than they are now.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess, I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer that. I understand the question. I understand the concern. I mean, I think that the fact that we're going to have people out front in regards to the parking issues, like I said, is going to give a level of awareness to our staff that will be able to nip things in the bud. And, our experience so far in operating has been, and again, most of our staff have worked at other places besides for us, all over the place, from Worcester and Boston and Western Mass, et cetera. And I think the reality of the situation is that the taxes are so high that it just doesn't attract people in a way that you might have concerns with the liquor store selling something, dirt cheap. I don't even know what I have 18-year-old daughters that are both in college, so I'm sure I could ask them what the cheap alcohol you buy is, but I don't want them to answer. So, it's not that kind of business. It's just, it's the price point alone is prohibitive. It's not something that a bargain shopper, so to speak, is going to be drawn to. And, it's not something that we have had, any experience with in Marshfield. There are a few dispensaries, I'm not going to lie, that have on the South Shore that are problematic and that are a little bit more lax in their security, and they've had some similar issues. So I think a lot of it depends on how the business operates and what people can get away with. And our staff is so professional and so on top of everything that I have zero concerns about that, because, if anything, I'd like them to, you guys will love it. I don't love it as much because there's a lot of emails, but I'd like it if they'd relax a little bit more. But they are hyper vigilant. So I have a feeling that we will be on top of every single potential incident well before it occurs, and we'll be way ahead of it. So in some ways, Lucas, I think it's actually going to do the opposite of your concern, in that it's going to bring a much higher profile, much higher sense of alert about what's going on around the store than, if the store wasn't there.
Thanks, Ben. Rob, did you have a follow-up question? We have one more in the chat.
Oh, no, I think it was just a comment on the price point as a recreational user myself, right? I mean, to Ben's point, the taxes and the price point alone is sort of a deterrent. And I was going to also say, sort of the comparison in my view of marijuana to fentanyl or heroin or crystal meth or some of the other issues that we see over on methadone mile. No disrespect Lucas meant in any way, but I just think it's a little bit of an older sort of, or an outdated view. It's just nowhere near sort of, if that's your drug of choice, it's not going to be weed. So.
Thanks, Rob.
Not that I've ever used either of those as a comparison. I just want to qualify that. I'm just saying, I don't think I don't think this is your off ramp. So
yeah, I do think it's a valid point raised though by the community, that it's no surprise that there is a crisis going on around the corner that's being dealt with.
No, totally.
So it's good to hear that the team is aware of that. We did have a question around marketing, Ben.
Yep.
What will be the targeting and advertising methodology? How are you guys planning to do some of that?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for every cannabis business, marketing in cannabis is virtually impossible. You're not allowed to do any of the traditional marketing things that you've seen. I'm sure everyone saw at some point in their Boston life the Lantern trash cans, but the only reason Lantern could do that is because Lantern was a third-party technology platform that did not actually transact. They were just they would get leads and sell those leads to operators. So they could kind of skirt the marketing rules, but as an operator, that we call it plant touching. We can't market really at all. It's very frustrating, but we can't be on the radio. We can't be in print. We can't do direct mailings. We can't do any images on the store. We can't do, honestly, if anyone here has great ideas on how to market cannabis, we'd love to hear them, because it's they're really not any real way you can do it. The easiest and best way to do it is that we reward customers. What we've been able to do in Marshfield, that we will continue to do everywhere we operate, is that we have a VIP program where people accrue points for every purchase, and they're able to turn those points into gift cards and they redeem those. And so what we've discovered is, if less focusing on trying to broadcast our existence to the entire world, and more focused on making sure that when people come to the store, they come back. One of the things we're most proud of in Marshfield is that I think we're about 2.1% of our customers have only come to the store once, who have a Massachusetts residence. So what we've discovered is that and it spreads by word of mouth. Unfortunately, in cannabis right now, the best way to market yourself is to have a really good experience from the customer, and have that customer tell other people about it. So for now, I think the neighborhood does not need to worry about marketing, because we can't do it.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. That's helpful to understand. Let's just see if there's any more questions. I don't think I see any other. David.
I had a few things that I wanted to run past Ben, but not until everyone else has had a chance to comment or ask their question if they want to.
I just
let's just give it a last chance.
I just had one comment, not really a question. So just formally, I'm Jonathan Niles. I'm on the board of the Blackstone Franklin Square. I realized I didn't introduce myself in the beginning. Was trying to moderate some of the questions. Appreciate you, Ben, and Jim coming to our meeting and having this dialogue. I think it really matters, because it gives people an opportunity to understand, your approach, what your plans are, what your thoughts are, and I think most importantly, get some feedback from the community that you're going to be a part of, or you're trying to be a part of. From my perspective, what I've heard from lots of folks that makes the South End unique, lived in the neighborhood for the last 9 years, is the walkability, the street activity, right? The restaurants, the businesses that make up the neighborhood. And I think one concern that I've heard, and some of it is due to the regulations that you must adhere to with regards to how the establishments must operate, is a fear that the corner will seem less active, especially after the hours of business operation. And I think you did a good job addressing some of that. It looks like you're going to be able to keep the windows open, and you're not going to have a situation where you'll have to frost the windows like we've seen in some other instances. But I just want to share the sentiment that I've heard from several folks in the neighborhood around ensuring that the property looks active, whether that's adding some lighting at night, but ensuring that the property looks active, it's in use, so that we can maintain, some of that presence that makes the neighborhood attractive, right? The walkability, the street activity, and so forth. So just more of a comment as you guys think about your design, you share that feedback. I know there were comments made about the signage. I know you addressed the windows, but as you think about your hours of operation, and then even post hours of operation, anything that you guys can do to keep in mind what might make the establishment look like it's active and open and vibrant, and contributing to the neighborhood as a business.
Definitely. And like I said at the beginning, I appreciate that, and I think we are an open book, and we are not South End residents. We obviously are big fans of the South End, but we don't live there. We don't identify as residents of the South End. So I think the more input we can get from the neighborhood associations, from the residents of the South End, to make this a place that really fits the community is our goal. Because that's we're not coming into this looking and saying, we wanted a Boston dispensary. We had multiple opportunities for dispensaries in Boston. We passed on all of them, but it was this specific neighborhood that, like you said, the fact that people are walking around, that it's vibrant, that it's alive, I think is what really draws us to it and why we want to pursue it. So I hope everyone will continue to give us feedback and continue to give us their ideas. And I'll try to make sure I give credit to everyone who comes up with it. David gets credit on the window frosting one because he was the first one to say it, even though he wasn't the last, he was the first. But everyone else, as we can get as much feedback as we can get, we would love to have.
Yeah, I think lighting matters. So if there's anything you guys can do around that, it's probably more post business hours, right? Just to keep the building looking like it's active and it's operational, and lighting can make a big difference in terms of street activity. So that just might be feedback if you can work that into your design plan.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that happens. And when we have a plan, we'll run it by you and you can let us know your thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you. It looks like there's some similar sentiments around that. So let's see if I don't think there's any other questions in the chat or anybody's hands. So maybe David, you want to take this opportunity to conclude and offer some of your thoughts?
Sure. So Ben, I wanted to follow up on what Jonathan in particular was just talking about, but others too, with regard to the activation and the windows and whatnot. And as you noted, you and I and Jay and Jim talked about that when I did the site visit a couple of weeks ago. So explain to what exactly does state law require with regard to that? And I believe the requirement is that people cannot see in from the outside. Is that it? And that usually the way that is effectuated is by frosting the glass. So my question is, what exactly does the law require? And within what the law requires, what are the options, including maybe creative options for doing things other than just boring frosting that deactivates the facade?
So the regulatory restriction is that up to 6 feet, you cannot allow anyone to look through the windows of the store and see transactions occurring, because and the main reason for that is that they're not allowed to see product. They don't want kids walking by and being able to see products. The viability of that regulation is not up for debate, so it is what it is. So what we're planning to do is that when you walk into, for example, if anyone who comes down on Friday will see, when you walk into the store in Marshfield, you walk into an entry area where you're still within kind of a confined space with locked doors, and you have to show your ID to get in. What we're going to do in the south end is, instead of making that a kind of little square cubby that you walk into, we're going to make it a bigger rectangle from across the whole front of the storefront. So that way we can leave the street glass unfrosted. The glass inside the entryway, when you're inside the building, but you're not yet in the store, you're kind of in that security catch-all, will be frosted so you can't see through. But I think that will achieve what we're trying to achieve here. And for us, it's we're sacrificing a tiny bit of square footage, but I think how emphatic everyone that we've spoken to in the neighborhood has been about that, kind of making sure that deactivation doesn't happen. It's well worth it for us. We're also going to be adding a second storefront. So, right now you see the entrance to 1679 where the cleaner signs are. That will be the entrance. On the other side of that, which is currently just a storefront, we'll be putting in the exit there. And what that will allow us to do is to kind of really make sure that we're not doing the deactivation, because it gets a little tricky when you're trying to have people come in and out the same door, trying to make sure that as far as the regulatory requirements go. So we'll be adding a door on the other side, but with the same thing. We'll have a secure exit exit vestibule that people will walk into. That will be frosted, but that will allow us to leave the storefront that's on Washington Street, not in the very corner of Worcester Street, not to be frosted.
Okay. I just think whatever sort of creative solutions involving light or whatever else there is that you could come up with as at least options would be appreciated.
Oh, definitely.
Good. I have a couple of other things before I do that. I just want to say, because I know some people may have to depart shortly because we're after 8 now, that we're going to be posting the entire meeting on our YouTube channel in the next day or two. So anybody who joined late, and there were a number of you who did join partway through the meeting or had to leave early, if you want to watch the whole thing, it'll be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow or Thursday, and you can find that just by looking for Blackstone Franklin Square SQNA on YouTube. Just one or two other things, Ben, that again we talked about. Can you provide some kind of estimate for sort of the customer numbers and foot traffic that you expect, and kind of like what should people be sort of prepared for in terms of how it would compare with some other business that they might be aware of, either here in the neighborhood or, you know, somewhere else, just in terms of.
I think if we do I've heard people say that Flower sees, you know, over 1,000 people a day come through their doors. So I think if we, you know, our goal would be, you know, transaction wise, about 50% of that. And again, with about 30% of that probably coming through home delivery. I think a lot of people will come to the store at the beginning. And then I think a lot of people, you know, when they know what they, you know, once people kind of get in a routine with what they know, what they like, you know, those people usually transition to delivery. We also will have an express checkout, which we have in Marshfield as well, which is if you order online ahead of time, you'll be able to walk in the store, go right up to the counter, get your order and walk out. Our average time in Marshfield for people that do express is less than 2.5 minutes that they're in the store. And again, we have, you know, it's very easy to place the order online. And I think, especially in the South End, in other areas of Boston where people are so used to home delivery, I think that that's going to be a, you know, we think that will be, it could end up being even higher than that 1 out of every 3. But I think for a lot of people, you know, if it's especially depending on the time of year with weather and whatnot, they're, you know, they'd much rather have it brought to them than come to the store. But I think we're expecting to have right around 500 transactions a day is our thought there. But again, that's across delivery, walk-in business, et cetera. You know, it's funny, Saturday nights are actually not that as busy. Thursdays and Fridays are busier than Saturdays. You know, it's pretty steady. And you know, we've been open for 15 months in Marshfield, and you know, I get a daily email with transactions, you know, from the day before, and it's pretty consistent. You know, the store will, you know, store will get an identity and a pattern and a traffic flow of, you know, customers coming in, and the numbers will be, you know, pretty steady. They seem to be, at least for us in Marshfield. So we expect the same. But I think, you know, we're expecting there to be about 500 transactions on average per day, you know, over the course of the week, is what we're expecting. That's why we're pursuing this. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, if it's more than that, that'd be great. And if it's significantly less than that, that's really bad. But, you know, that's, you know, we expect to be somewhere in that range.
And that 500 includes both people who walk in the store and shop, as you might expect, but then also people who are ordering solely online and having it delivered.
Exactly.
And then even within the people who walk in the shop, it includes a set of people who are only going to be there for, I think, a minute or two, as you describe it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
the average, I mean, I would say for honestly in Marshfield, you know, I would say 1 out of every 3 people coming in is express. They've ordered online, they walk up, they go to the counter, they pick it up. And what we've seen is that most people convert to express from kind of the browser after their first couple times at the store. So, you know, I think, you know, in the early stages that, you know, you might see 1 out of every 3 express, and it will probably grow to more like 2 out of every 3 as, you know, once we pass the 6-month mark or whatnot. And again, the delivery will be pretty consistent. You know, people who do delivery as part of their life are going to take advantage of it. People who don't do delivery are not going to. I mean, some people like to be in the store, some people like delivery, and some people might be, you know, might rotate between the two. But, you know, we're open, you know, being open 11 hours a day with this kind of foot traffic, we're not talking about, you know, overwhelming. There'll never be lines outside. Those days are long gone. There's just too many dispensaries. It's too widespread. The store, the area we have there at 1679 is plenty big that even if we had double the number we're talking about, we'd be able to service everyone inside. We don't, you know, we do great numbers at Marshfield. We've never had a line outside, except on one day where people lined up for us to open, and it was just because it was the summer and people wanted to go to the beach. So we've never had a line when we were open, and
Okay.
we don't anticipate ever having a line in the South End either. Don't get me wrong; it would be great if I was wrong and 10 million people wanted to come here, but that's, you know, there's enough dispensaries open in the state that I think we can speak intelligently about what we can expect, and you know, 500 is a good estimation of total transactions.
Okay. My final question just has to do with kind of how you see this store, assuming it's approved, sort of fitting into the overall South End cannabis scene, if you will, right? So right now there's one, as you know, there's one operational cannabis store in South End on 591 Albany Street, operated by Affinity. It's currently medical marijuana only. It's been that way for the past 3 years since it opened. They're actually seeking an adult use license themselves, and we're going to be talking to them and hearing from them at a meeting either later this month or early next. But my question is, there's an argument, I'm not making this argument myself, but I'm just repeating it because it has been made, that there's somehow too much, or that there's saturation, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, Do you see that as an issue or a problem, or do you see yourself as probably surviving even if others, fall by the wayside? I'm just curious.
I mean, in Brockton, there's 9. In Provincetown, there's 8. There's too many. They're going out. Northampton has seen 2 go out of business in the last 5 weeks. So yeah, there's definitely areas where there's too much. I mean, we don't expect there to be another one in this neighborhood. Affinity is we would consider to be, I think there's enough separation between the two where they're not the same kind of areas of where people move in their everyday life, so to speak. So, in Rockland right now, which is the closest one to us on the South Shore, they opened their industrial park for business, and their 4th one is going into this tiny industrial park. And yeah, they're not going to survive. I mean, it's in Plymouth. I think there's 5. One of them does in a week what we do on a Friday. And we're not like by any means the best thing that ever happened in the world. That's just how low their numbers are. So, I see on the chat about the Cathedral Station. That's much further away from us. I don't think anybody who's, and the reason we did not pursue Cathedral Station is because Cathedral Station does not have the kind of foot traffic in the neighborhood that 1679 Washington does. Again, I think I see us fit again because I think that what's great about being in the South End, specifically in the neighborhood where you folks reside, is that you are walking around, you're shopping, you're eating, you're talking to people. Everyone's not in their car. People are experiencing world on the outside with fresh air in their face, getting these giant red foreheads like mine, and that's the kind of environment we want to be in. That's and I think that the dispensaries that will do well are the ones that are well run, that have a very diverse, curated menu that is desirable for those people that consume cannabis. And that has an intelligent staff that is able to greet customers and explain to them how this product might be beneficial to their mental and physical well-being. I think that, in 2018, when it was legalized, it was a gold rush. Everyone thought, I'm going to open the door and thousands of people are going to show up. And that did happen for the first few stores because, well, a couple of them were on the New York State border, and the one in Brookline opened up, and they were seeing 5,000 customers a week. When they opened, on average, 9,000 a week for the first 3 months. Since they opened, now there's 267 open dispensaries in the state. City of Boston will have to have 52 establishments per the law. And, I think there is going to be a focus on making sure they're spread out so there isn't that saturation. And if you told us that there was another one going in, on Washington Street, right near us, then we wouldn't pursue this. That's just, there's not enough business for everybody to have, to have 7 stores, and it's not good for the neighborhood to have 7 dispensaries. I think anyone who's been to Provincetown and walked down the, Main Street of Provincetown there will tell you that there is such a thing as too much. And, our goal and our hope by coming to this address with these neighborhood groups that are so invested in their community is that that's not something that's going to happen here because you guys wouldn't allow it to. And I think we feel confident in our ability to operate the kind of establishment that you would want in your neighborhood, and to be a great commercial partner for the neighborhood, and to support the neighborhood, and to contribute to it and make it even more vibrant. And so we're locally owned. We're not a multi-state operator. I'll give anybody and everyone who wants it my cell phone number. And if you see something you don't like, you call me and we'll deal with it. That's how we operate in Marshfield. That's how we're going to operate here. I live in Massachusetts. Us getting a bad reputation for not being professional is the only thing I promised my wife would not happen in this business. She told me if she read about me, she'd kill me. I am too fat to date, so I'm going to listen to whatever she tells me the rules are. And, that's just the reality of the situation. We run a very good establishment, and we're going to do that in the South End, but we're not the kind of people that say, oh, we do it in Marshfield well, so we're going to do it the exact same way in the South End. The South Shore of the South End could not be more different. So we're going to focus on operating a South End dispensary, not a dispensary, a South End dispensary. And I'm 100% confident that we will be a great fit for your neighborhood. Obviously, you guys can all have different opinions, but I walk into this knowing that I feel confident that we can do that.
Anyone else have a question or want to make a comment before we adjourn?
I'd just like to say I really appreciate you guys giving us the time to talk tonight. I love all of the questions. I love how invested everyone is in their neighborhood. And, we're available on Friday for the tour if anyone wants to see it. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me to ask questions that they didn't ask tonight, David, feel free to share my contact info with anyone who asked for it. And we sincerely mean it. And I think when you meet our team, if you do come down the store on Friday and you meet our team, you're going to see that we've assembled quite a special group of men and women. And again, annoyingly young, but really talented, really smart, and they do an amazing job. And I think we're very excited, and we really appreciate how willing everyone has been to talk to us and ask questions, and how invested you are in your neighborhood.
Great, thank you. And if anybody wants to reach Ben or his team and didn't get his contact info, you can also just reach out through us and we'll connect you. So you can just go to blackstonefranklin.org and our email contact is there. So with that, I'll just say that again, our next regularly scheduled meeting is in May, but we're anticipating that we'll do one in between now and then, probably either late this month or early next, to accommodate Affinity's request to come meet with us. So we'll be sending out an email agenda and Zoom and time and date for that. We'll also put it on Facebook and publicize it on our other social media. So obviously anybody who's here tonight who wants to come to that, you are more than welcome. So anyone else want to say anything before we adjourn? Okay, everybody, and thank you again, Ben.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Good night.
Happy first day of spring.
Indeed.